So the big question is, did Cruz's speech actually backfire? The fallout from former South Carolina GOP Chair Van Hipp, Independent Women's Forum Heather Higgins, and former Obama campaign staffer Steve Schale. Van, let me go to you first. Obviously mixed reactions, but we heard on the floor there a lot of booing, a lot of people very upset that Ted Cruz either A, didn't play ball or felt it necessary to release his frustrations at a point where the party was trying to unify.
Charles, we saw last night exactly why he has a tough time getting along with his colleagues in the U.S. Senate. But I think the base is rallying around Donald Trump. I spoke to one very prominent evangelical leader who told me he was for Trump. His wife was undecided. She's for Donald Trump right now. She loved the Pence speech, and she realizes we cannot have a third Obama term. And this evangelical vote is so important, and let me tell you why. And I think Pence helps tremendously with this. Go back and look at 2012. Evangelicals stayed home, and we had a very lower turnout than usual for Mitt Romney and those key swing states like Ohio. Mike Pence, I think, is rallying the evangelical base. Donald Trump can win this thing.
All right, Van, I got you on the Pence part, and I think we all agree on that. But the big controversy today, Steve, is about what Ted Cruz did and if it will have any damage to November. A lot of people say, for the most part, they know he's damaged himself, particularly in the short term, but any lingering effects for Donald Trump?
Yeah, I don't think so. It was interesting. I agree with Van. I mean, most of my Republican friends who were on the floor last night were texting me during the speech saying, wow, the reception to this is horrible. I mean, who could blame Ted Cruz for not wanting to endorse Donald Trump? I mean, the guy, Trump, took a shot at his wife and his dad, but he should have stayed home.
Yeah, he definitely should have stayed home. And Heather, I think that's one of the things we see. Kasich isn't there, and some of the other Republicans who felt like Donald Trump, for whatever reason, doesn't reflect necessarily their values. If that's the way you feel, you don't go to a convention where the idea is to unify the party. And nevertheless, Ted Cruz is the big news today when it probably should have been Mike Pence and some other things.
That's true. The reality is that he was basically doing a longer, slower version of the Paul Ryan slowly coming to adjust his thinking to accepting Donald Trump. The problem is you don't do that at the convention, on the main stage, in prime time. What it did to most of the Republican electorate was, let's be frank, a lot of them were not initially Trump supporters either, and they've gone through a lot of personal wrestling within themselves about the importance of winning, and that means coming together. They're tired of the rancor, and he basically triggered that. Everybody's been working through stages of denial and then anger and bargaining, working through their stages of grief, but he's going more slowly, and the people who are there already were not putting up with that last night.
You know, Van,
kind of like...
Go ahead, Heather. You want to finish?
I was just going to say, it's like Director Comey. He made a very strong argument, and Ted made a very strong argument against Hillary Rodham Clinton last night. They both had an obligation to follow through. Neither did for personal reasons, and they both ended up helping Donald Trump.
You know, of course, Van, this morning Ted Cruz did double down on this, but when he was asked, he talked about the attack on his wife, the attack on his father, and then finished up by saying, I'm not a servile little puppy dog. Yeah. Is that something that you think Hillary Clinton, because she did tweet last night, vote your conscience, right after he used that term, is this the kind of thing that she can piggyback off and tell the world, listen, even within the Republican Party, the rancor from their nominee is so tough that one of the top candidates decided not to back him?
Charles, he's played right into Hillary Clinton's hands. And I think that's why the base is so fired up. But it was unbelievable. I think it's safe to say that Ted Cruz will not be a contender on the national stage in the future. How a man handles victory and how a man handles defeat tells us a lot about a man. What kind of leader he is, what kind of man he is.
Can I disagree?
Donald Trump was magnanimous. He reached out. And I would contrast this with Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is a class act.
Real quick, Heather, go ahead. I'd like you to...
I just want to disagree. Hillary is not going to be using Ted Cruz because he's not a surprise validator. If Ben Carson were the one who was having a problem with Donald Trump, that would work for her. But Ted Cruz, given the history saying that he's not sure yet, he did say, by the way, that he wouldn't vote for Hillary. Yeah. She's not going to be using him.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, she tweeted last night, and she borrowed his phrase, vote your conscience, right away. So I'm not quite sure about that.